Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Hello. Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection, show number 26. It's going to be on retirement and Social Security. Retirement and Social Security. We will have a conversation regarding retirement, what we need to be thinking about, how do we prepare for retirement, especially if you are younger, and then if you are kind of getting there already, what can you do? What options do you have? We're going to be giving you lots of information. I am 52, and I feel like I accelerated my process for retirement preparation. I had been preparing, but then at 52, I felt like I went on overdrive to kind of really make sure that I get to where I want to be in the best way possible. So this is about retirement. Again, a very important conversation. When it comes to retirement, we have Social Security, which I would say most of the population in the U.S. participates in Social Security. But there may be misconceptions about Social Security, even doubts whether it'll be there when we get there, et cetera. So we will be addressing on the second segment some aspects of Social Security. Another very important component for retirement is 401ks, because 401ks is very practical, is usually offered by employers. So, you kind of participate just like you do with Social Security. You kind of don't know it. It's just being retained, that money, by the government. And you kind of, it becomes kind of normal to save without being too conscious of it. So that's an excellent way to save. But not every employer offers 401ks, and specifically the smaller employers. So there are efforts nationwide to pass legislation that would facilitate that employers, especially smaller employers, would be able to offer retirement savings programs. It could be in different forms. So I would like to connect with my colleague, Belen Mendoza. Belen Mendoza is the vice president of AARP campaigns. And unless she corrects me, she is in D.C. She'll correct me if I'm wrong. But Belen, thank you so very much for joining our show this morning. And also, if you can begin to help us understand, what is the state of retirement? I mean, are we saving? Are we not saving? Do you have some statistics, data, nationwide, Arizona, et cetera? Welcome, Belen Mendoza.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm glad to be part of the 26th program, so I appreciate the opportunity. I heard you say your age, so I'm hoping I don't have to disclose mine.
You don't have to, Belen.
Understand. But you have actually, when I do these kind of conversations, I always bring my mom, who came to this country when she was in her late 30s. And, our culture, at least in Argentina, where we're from, it's not necessarily saving. And so now you have folks that is just not the immigrant population, but in general that, are facing retirement without savings. And this is not just the fact that they won't be able to go visit their grandchildren, right? This is more about being able to keep pace when they retire with their day expenses, their utilities, purchasing the prescription drugs, making a decision on whether to buy a medication or buy food or pay for the light. The average household has only $3,000 saved for retirement. I mean, that is $3,000. So imagine that when you are an aging person that doesn't have, a lot of income with their Social Security, which I know you guys are going to talk on the second part of the segment. But in fact, 18% of retirees in the next 15 years will retire with more debt than savings.
Wow.
Think about that.
So no motivation, no motivation for retirement. I mean, if that's kind of like this, what the situation is, I assume that people are thinking, man, I'm going to have to work until I'm 70.
I know. But, the interesting piece is that people are more likely to save if their job was to offer a retirement program. Mm-hmm. And so this is why we've been working at AARP with our state offices to be able to implement this Work and Save program in the states, because it has been proven that people are more likely to save money if it is through their job than it is independently.
So from what I gather, is this something that AARP started, or it has been around for a few years, and then AARP joined this effort of trying to pass legislation that would facilitate, especially for smaller employers, to provide some form of retirement savings program?
So to just put it in perspective, states are finally stepping up by passing Work and Save. Back in 2012, only 3 states were working on this issue. Now you have upwards of 30 states are engaging in conversations about retirement security, and AARP is not the only one who is raising their voice and working together. But, for example, we have a AARP multi-state campaign where we work with our state offices, and we also work with partners advocating over retirement security. You have partners like financial industry, business associations such as like the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, unions, small businesses, churches, and communities. Because, again, this mostly affects small businesses that have 100 or less employees.
Okay. So the tendency is obviously for smaller employers not to have sufficient funds or revenue or what have you that would allow them to participate in these kinds of programs, or is they just decide not to offer it?
No, a lot of it has to do with the financial impact that it has in the small businesses. And this is why Work and Save is important state by state. So it's not a one-state-fits-all, but each state is working in different ways. So, for example, several states are pursuing like the auto IRA model, which takes the operational burden from running retirement plans off the small businesses by setting up a voluntary program. And then other states are doing marketplace, which allows small business owners to compare apples and apples among retirement plans. So it all depends on the state, and they're working side by side with AARP and partners to figure out what are the best options for the state to be able to help the small businesses, but also be able to help employees save for retirement.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you another question, Belen. If I understand right, are you... your family is from Argentina, correct?
Correct. My family is from Argentina, and my mom was in her late 30s when we got here, and my dad, who has passed away, got here in their 40s.
And let's see. Now, you occupy a very important position at AARP. Congratulations. You are the vice president of campaigns, correct?
Yes, you're correct. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations.
Yes. Now, let me ask you another question, because you mentioned your folks. I still have my folks as well. In doing these shows, I have come across many, many great and knowledgeable people. And I have a sense that we have a large, older, I would venture to say 50, 60 plus population that potentially did not have as good a jobs, education as the newer wave of Latinos that are now inclined to be educated and prepare or have more money, make more money. If that's if my understanding is at least somewhat correct, we are thinking that we have a large number of population that is not going to be quite ready for retirement, and maybe the newer wave of Latinos that are now more educated will have perhaps a better chance of getting ready for retirement and having a better retirement life.
As we mentioned before, right, in the next 15 years, around the people that will be retiring will have more debt than savings. And I can only speak for my family as an immigrant family. is, they were just working to pay the bills and put my sister through school and be able to have, what we call what we came here for, right, which was to have the opportunities that we would not have had back home. And so I think for me, to your point, it's seeing my parents struggle as they retire and seeing the fixed number that you get has been an incentive for me to start saving, when I was 30. Now, my sister, who is 9 years younger than me, she started saving right out of college. So I think that, I don't know if the education is better or it's the fact that we saw the struggle that it had on our parents not be able to save that money for retirement, and that now being in their, late 60s and either have to still work or have to live in a very small income where I and my sister have to help them to be able to get through their month to month. So I think it's a combination of both seeing the struggle and being educated about it. And this is why this topic is so passionate. It's such a passion for me because a lot of times we assume that people are not educated, and that is true. But I think it's also because they're so focused, right, on being able to provide for their family that they don't necessarily spend the time. And this is why it's important, I think, for the small businesses to have this opportunity to be able to be educated and not be as confused, and able to navigate this to offer for their employees, because they have, it is unfortunately a responsibility of being able to help these folks who are in the workforce right now, get familiar with what it means to save for retirement.
Belen, I'm going to thank you once again. Thank you for joining our first segment. And I applaud you for the position that you hold at AARP and for the work being done to pass legislation to make it a little easier for folks to save. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate spending this time with you guys this morning.
Thank you. We are going to go on our first break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Social Security, 401ks, IRAs, and what are we supposed to be thinking when it comes to preparing for retirement. You're listening to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. We'll be right back.
Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Thank you. Thank you for staying with us. This is AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. We are talking about retirement and Social Security. We are going to be focusing on Social Security on this second segment, and we'll move on to other points, 401ks, IRAs, and then a whole list of things that we need to think about when it comes to retirement. I just wanted to open it up just for a bit if you had any thoughts that came to mind as Belen was sharing.
Absolutely, David. Interesting to hear Belen say that she really started focusing and thinking about retirement at age 30, and to hear yourself at age 50, more or less, more aggressively really considering it. Here you have professionals later in life taking reins of their future. But ideally, the age to start putting money away, at least 10, 15%, is the day that you get your first paycheck. Because just as you said, we do not know if Social Security benefits is going to be there for us. It's a big question mark at this point. So we need to take more responsibility as individuals for our own retirement plan. What is going to happen after age 65 when we can no longer work? What have we done, in essence? And then Belen also mentioned something very important about the small business owner, that it's very difficult for them to provide retirement plans for their employees. Well, it's information. They need to seek information because it's very difficult to retain very good employees. And having a nice retirement in place is a good employee retention tool. One of the
say
best
that
ones.
again, because I hear that a lot. And
Yes.
so are you saying that many employers want to offer a robust set of benefits because that's the way they attract the better employees and they retain them?
What employee doesn't want a good benefit?
Of
It's
course.
not just the job that they're seeking, and they're also looking for what benefits. If I get sick, if I take this opportunity for a good 5-10 years, what is this going to provide not only but my family and my future generations? Are they going to provide any matching contributions? If I put a 3% in,
Right.
are they going to provide me 3%, which eventually will be 6%, and that's only going to be part of my portfolio? It is so critical that employers educate themselves because there are plans within our government that they can use that 401k, that SET plan, anything that they provided to their employee, and utilize it as a write-off. So honestly, it doesn't cost as much as we think they do. That some plans do not cost anything.
And we'll get to those details in just a bit. I think they're very important because there's an assumption that, it costs too much if it
Yes.
isn't that. Let's go back to the basics, if you don't mind. And Social Security to me is the basics because this is Armando. And by the way, I never introduced you. Oh, shame on me. Let me do that real quick. Armando Roman is your name, correct? Can you tell us who you work for or yeah?
Certainly. I have my own practice. I'm a CPA, have been for about 30 years. I had a tax practice for about 14 years, sold it 11 years ago to focus on helping people keep and grow their money. So now we help clients invest their money and plan for retirement. And that's the real core of what we do today.
Excellent. So you left a CPA job to be more on the financial advisory practice.
Exactly right. And that was 11 years ago that I sold off my CPA firm because I actually had a friend years ago who told me that he said, Armando, you're not really helping your clients. And I got a little bit offended by him. He's also a CPA and a good friend of mine. And after I realized what he was saying is people need help.
Okay.
People need help.
Do we have a lot of Latinos in the financial advisory realm of kind of job?
I'd say no.
No.
I'd say no. There aren't very many.
Okay.
You just don't see very many out there.
Okay. And Gloria Guerra, welcome to our show. Gloria, thank you so much. Can you tell us who you work for and then just a little bit of what you do on a daily basis?
My name is Gloria Guerra, and I have been doing on my own benefits for small businesses and individuals on insurance and financial solutions. And I have been doing this for the last 15 years.
Wow.
And just like Armando, I started in like as a captive person working for a company and then decided to branch out to be able to help individuals because people need help. And just like you were asking and mentioning, there's very few that are licensed bilingual people that are about helping people. If you take care of the people will take care of you. And we need to change the culture of, like, as she was saying, of information.
Perfect. Thank you, Gloria. We'll come back to you. And then we have Yoli Aleman Rodriguez. Can you tell us just a little bit about what you do, your company, etc.?
David, I am so excited to be celebrating my 25th year this month with State Farm. So,
wow.
I'm a State Farm
Congratulations.
agent. Thank you very much.
Yes.
It is just such a joy to work for such a wonderful company and reputable. So my time with State Farm has been a dream because in that position, I have been able to help people plan their future, plan their retirements, plan their everything that they had dreamed about. So when we talk about creating plans for the children to go to work, if something happens to the family, we're going to be able and we're going to be in a position not only to pay for the house and then pay for continued income, but to maintain their standard of living.
Right.
So that's what we focus on in my office.
I saw you have a beautiful little car. What is the with your name on it?
Yes,
and it looks beautiful.
it's completely wrapped. It's a Cooper. It's a Roadster Mini
but
Cooper.
It's branded, and that's what I meant. It is nicely
so proud,
branded.
so
That's
proud to work
beautiful.
for State
Thank
Farm.
you.
So I take it with me everywhere.
Well, one of the things or the objectives of this platform is to celebrate Latino accomplishments, and we have many to celebrate.
Yes,
Now,
we
I
do.
have to come back to the basics for this segment. We have about 6 minutes. And we invited a representative from Social Security who eventually could not come. But I want to say the following, and please jump in. It is estimated that the money that Social Security will provide in retirement is about a third of what we will need in retirement. So it's important that there might be a misconception, especially on a certain segment of our Latino population, that the Social Security is going to do it for me. Well, no, it's not going to do it. I usually, when I give this talk on Social Security, tell people that you are bound to live on poverty if that's all you're going to go to retirement with. You will definitely live in poverty if you only have Social Security. I mean, people get $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 if it's a couple, $2,500. So it's just not going to cut it. So let's also understand, and there is a concept of early retirement, retiring at full retirement age, and delaying your retirement. So it is extremely important when a person is going to claim. And again, I have to say that this is the very basic. Social Security is automatic. It's not like the 401k. The 401ks, maybe they offer it, maybe not. Maybe they offer it and you don't want it. Right? But Social Security is automatic. They deduct 6.2% of your salary for Social Security, 1.45% for Medicare, and for every quarter that you pay this tax, you accrued 1 point or 1 credit or quarter. In a year, you accrued 4 credits or quarters. In 10 years, you accrued 40 credits, and the number 40 is key. You have to have 40 credits to have eligibility for Social Security. Without 40 credits, you cannot get retirement benefits. That's the minimum. Or you can be the spouse of one who has the 40 credits, which was the case of my mother. So here again, it is extremely important when a person claims Social Security. If they claim it at 62, they will get about a roughly 25% reduction for life.
Right.
It's not going to change once you claim at 62.
Right.
And then there's the concept of retiring at full retirement age. And it's not the same for everyone. They moved it from 65 to 67. So depending on the year that you were born. And there's a table on the internet if you really want to know what is your full retirement age. Not only that, Social Security sends statements to your home, or you can create an account in the socialsecurity.gov to basically monitor the years that you've worked, the wages and the amounts that you can expect to receive at 62, which is early retirement, and then it'll tell you your full retirement age. In my case, it's 67, so it went from 65 to 67. Anyone being born from 60 and on or after will retire at 67. That's if they don't change it by the time we get there. And then you have the delay retirement. You can delay your retirement after your full retirement age until 70. And for every year that you delay it, you get an additional 8%. So if you delayed for 3 more years, you get 124% of the benefit that you were going to get. So let's say somebody was going to get $1,000, they'll get, $1,240 as opposed to one for waiting. We have a couple of minutes if you want to just add anything to this segment of Social Security.
Yeah, I'd like to add something on that, David. What people will often not understand about Social Security is it is an annuity for life. So if you can delay it longer and get that annuity for life at a larger amount, that is what people in general should do. And then also, it's an annuity guaranteed by the U.S. federal government. You cannot buy an annuity that strong, guaranteed by the U.S. government. The only way the money's not going to come in is if our government disappears and we don't have a country anymore.
Right, which is not likely to happen.
So I'll tell people often that Social Security, make sure you know what it is, and if you can delay it longer to get a higher payout, do it. Because even though you might think you might not live that long, what if you do?
Right. And there's I always hear this comment about, who knows, what if I die?
Right.
Well, if you're not sick, if you're not I call it like a death sentence, meaning you have a serious condition, you're most likely going to live your 80, 85, sometimes 90. So it's a great thing to consider delaying retirement if possible. Yeah. Yes, Gloria, go ahead.
Also, I wanted to add something like you were mentioning on the socialsecurity.gov. It's super important that people check their statement. Very important every year, because a lot of times the address on file may be different, and then it's arriving to someone, to your old house.
Wow.
Beneficiaries, if you have a change in status, if you got married, divorced or not. I think it's very important to have that statement every year. Make sure that you either access it online or have a copy on paper.
Yes, and let me also say that spouses who do not have the 40 credits are eligible for a maximum of up to 50% of the spouses who has the credits. And also keep in mind that divorced spouses, if they have been married for at least 10 years, be careful if you're going to divorce, be careful when you divorce. I mean, we don't recommend it, but it's, if you do it, especially if the spouse has made big bucks, might want to really consider, because if you are not married for at least 10 years, you will not be eligible for benefits on that spouse's record.
Correct.
So it's very important to consider. So again, benefits for the person who contributes, and then for spouses. We're always going on a break, but go ahead and
there is
Yoli.
just one area that I want to interject in this conversation, and that it's a point of view where what happens when you're counting on your retirement from Social Security and your spouse's Social Security, but then one of them passes away, right? So it is so important that you balance and that you discuss having a portfolio. And like you said before, David, not just have Social Security benefits,
Definitely.
have life insurance.
We need more than that.
Yes. Have annuities, have a backup plan, maybe some properties, income producing properties.
Let's elaborate on that on our next break. I'm giving the signal that I have to go on break.
Okay.
And also remember that Social Security will be able to pay benefits up to 2034, 100% of benefits. According to the current estimations in 2017, it'll be able to pay up to 2034, 100%. At that point, it would only be able to pay 75% of benefits. So that's why AARP and many other groups are advocating for changes to be made to update the Social Security program for the 21st century. We'll be right back. You're listening to AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Thank you very, very much. This is David Parra, host of AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. This is our 26th show. I am very happy about that. We are talking about retirement and Social Security. Again, the reason why we mention Social Security with retirement is because there's kind of like a misconception that, okay, I'm participating in Social Security, I should be fine. Well, you will not be fine. I am so sorry. And I also am sorry, and we understand that sometimes it is just not easy to move beyond putting bread on the table and thinking about these other things. They don't make a lot of money. People have to think about their kids, their schools, and et cetera. And it's just, they cannot afford to think about beyond. But I'm sure that you, Yoli, from what I gather, you have some advice for those that perhaps think that it's impossible. I hope you can bring them some solutions. But let me go to Armando. Armando Roman, you and I conversed during the week, and you sent me a list of excellent points that should be included in the conversation for planning for retirement. Would you share a little bit of that to our audience?
Sure. I don't have the list. That was a mental brain dump for you, so I
have
just kind of threw
it.
things together.
I'll remind you.
But a lot of the conversation when people think of retirement, they also need to think about how they're going to protect what they have, because if someone just takes it, then it's gone. And when you're thinking about retiring, different components come into play. So you want to make sure that you're looking at what is the income going to be, what's going to be comfortable for you when that income starts. So if you're used to spending $5,000 a month and you want to have that when you retire, then you've got to plan for it and put money away now for it. And in the meantime, as you're putting money away for college for the kids, or trying to pay down the house or get some rental properties going, whatever it is, all that's got to be looked at together so that it works. And then things can happen, like maybe a health incident. So health insurance has to be part of that picture as well.
Are you a strong believer of health insurance?
I
Sorry,
am.
not health, life. I call it death insurance a lot of times because until you die, you benefit from it. But anyhow.
I've had 3 widows walk in my door the last 2 years. And life insurance made a huge difference for 2 of them.
Okay, let's see if time allows to touch a little bit more deeper into life insurance, because I really want us to give more information about that. Okay. If you can continue with the items that should be part of the conversation when we think of retirement. So you already mentioned, the lifestyle, how much of it are you going to want and budget for it? Life insurance was another one. If you can go
and
on.
then protecting what you have. So some estate documents, a living trust.
Ooh, that's
estate
important.
documents important so that if something happens, then you don't have to go through probate. I've got a client going through probate right now because documents were not done ahead of time.
Okay.
So the probate is there. It's something that can be avoided.
So protecting your assets. Huh?
Protecting. If you have rental property, put those into an LLC. It's just a wrapper, a layer of protection on them.
Okay.
Another layer is an insurance policy on that rental home. It's important to have that insured. So if the house burns down.
So the more you have, sometimes the more sophisticated it becomes, right? And it has to be, because you have to protect all your assets.
And it's not just the income; it's protecting what you've gathered.
Right.
Different ways to protect what you've gathered.
Okay. Anything else? I mean, I have that list that you sent.
I have a comment on what you said. This was interesting to hear from you that you said that your perception of life insurance was a death policy. And, let me put some clarification into that. No, but this is the majority of individuals that walk into my office when in fact it does not need to be a death insurance at all. Not only is it for your family to go on and realize all the dreams and the plans that you had for them. And that's the reason we all go to work every day. Why? To provide a good education, to provide income for them, to provide a standard of living, right? So when you're not there, this is plan B for your family to realize everything you had planned for them. And not only that, life insurance is not just for when you die. There's very good policies out there that are called the whole life policies. And what those policies do is that they accumulate cash values. So your money is being invested into an account that accumulates and grows. So you become your own personal banker. And if for any reason in the future you say, well, I need a couple $1,000s because Pepito's going to school now, right? We need to pay tuition. We need to maybe buy a car. You don't have to go to the bank and fill out an application and say, well, I hope and pray that I qualify for this loan. You can be your own banker and pull money from that and pay it back if you want to.
Right.
And not only that, it could also be part of your retirement portfolio because then not only hopefully do you have your 401k, your Social Security benefits, but you also have your accumulated cash values.
Now let me ask you, Yoli, in your dealings with people, I always feel that the people who make good money can afford to think, more about these kinds of things. In your relationship with clients, is this a pattern, or do you see people that don't make that much money that value a life insurance plan and they buy it and make the effort? Can you shed some light on that? Because again, I always feel like, yes, you make $100,000, $200,000. Well, you can afford to think about all those kinds of things. But how about those that make $75,000, $50,000?
David, we all have a standard of living. And if you're making $30,000, you can't be living like a rock star. Okay. So that's the beauty of it all. So if 10% of income when we started this conversation is 10% on 20,000. It's 10% on 15,000. It's 10% on 100,000 or 15%. So the amount that you carve as non-negotiable that you are going to set aside to create a portfolio is pretty much the same in any
When you
area.
say 10%, are you talking
10,
about
15%
10%
of your
for,
income.
for all the portfolio you're
Yes,
saying?
for your retirement.
Not just for life insurance, but for others?
For retirement, you could say, okay, you know what? 10%, 15% is going to be carved out towards my retirement,
I
and
see.
that's non-negotiable. Of course, first you pay Uncle Sam, right?
Right.
Otherwise, we're all going to be in
You pay for your
trouble.
FICA taxes
Yes,
and then the taxes to the
exactly.
government.
Right.
And are you saying
Then
in
you pay
addition,
yourself. Yes.
in addition, 10 to 15% is a good percentage
From
to think
the
about
time that you
to
start making
plan
income,
a portfolio for
Yes,
retirement.
Yes, and as time goes by, you can plan on creating that investment,
Like
making it
accelerating, like me,
greater.
I'm accelerating it at 52.
Yes.
If I may,
Yes.
Gloria, you deal with, you said employees or individuals and employers. When they come to your business, what do you see? Do they care about these things, or are they more interested, first of all, the HR, payroll type of things? Are they interested in other retirement programs?
Thank you. That's a very good question, and there's a lot to add here. But to answer your question, there's the people that do not care and they just want the basic. And it's like, I don't care about my employees. It may sound harsh, but I'm a profit-oriented person, and they can find that on their own.
Okay.
There's experts that can help them, right, at the individual level. There's others that take care of employees like family. They want the best for them because they are the very best employees. And if I can add a lot of employees that are bilingual employees because that are fluent, and it's very hard sometimes in the financial industry, in the health industry, in any industry that right now it's booming. It's very important to keep them happy. Because if you also keep them healthy, the business is happy as well. It's more productive. They feel that you care. And when those employers are interested, they say, well, what is the most cost-effective way? And then you talk to them about the different associated or non-associated costs on the 401k, if they want to contribute or not, if you want to offer them voluntary and have an expert like Armando or State Farm come and speak to the employees, so at least they have access to that. Because sometimes if you cannot pay for it, at least give them access to experts that are licensed and reputable with great reputation that are going to do a good job for them.
So when they come to you, what is your thinking? You want to get them in as many possible, or at least offer them as many options as they can, and inform them about it. So it's HR. You encourage them about the possibility of setting up a 401k?
Well, what we do, it's like going to the doctor and you have a checkup.
Okay.
And being, what is your diagnosis? What is your pain point? What do you need? What are your goals? Do you want to do, to keep good employees? What is the most important thing for the employees? Is it health insurance, dental insurance, 401k, retirement, social security? Do you want to pre-tax to save on payroll taxes? Do you want to offer this on a voluntary basis so it doesn't cost you anything, but you are caring about the employees? Are you willing to keep them offline if it's a production company, out of the production line, so we can set up a meeting and go over for them? So it's like being making a diagnosis exam exactly of what they want to pursue, and based on that, we check mark what is that they want, and then we put a plan together. We cannot just start talking about, oh, look, this is 401k. It was like, well, let's see what you need.
Right.
Because everything is based on needs.
Right. And a lot of times people, especially young people, when they start working, they go for a little bit of a higher hourly rate, but sometimes with no benefits.
Exactly.
And I usually tell people, be careful with the job that you pick. It may be in your best interest to make $1 less, maybe $2 less an hour, but with this benefit packet of health insurance, 401k. So it's very important, and I always emphasize this, extremely important, the type of job that you pick, especially when you're young. I mean, as you develop into your profession, then it seems to be a little easier. We are close to another break, but go ahead, make it brief if you
If
could.
the decision is to take that higher paying job with no benefits, then you owe it to yourself to go find the individual that
Okay.
you want to work with, agency or group, to ensure that you have a sound retirement plan and disability income. What happens the day that you are in an auto accident and you can't go back to work? Disability income provides you the income, that salary that you'd have been receiving while you are out of work. And number three, make sure that you have that income saved, so when the rainy day comes that you need the income, you can take from it.
Yeah. Extremely important conversation on retirement. I always tip my hat to people who go on their own, to be self-employed, because they have to deal with a lot more stuff. And there's always the tendency to report less. And when you report less, then your Social Security will generate a lesser benefit. So I said, oh man, people have to kind of juggle so many things. Right. We have to go on our last break. And this is such an important conversation. We're going to go even deeper on the last segment. So stay with us. This is AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Thank you. Thank you very much for staying with us. This is AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. I don't know. I feel very passionate about the issue of retirement. It seems like the closer you kind of start seeing it, the more
it becomes more
think
important.
about it. Of course. Yeah, I really would like to retire early. I am planning on early retirement. We will see if it works out. I'm getting ready to the best of my ability. But I usually tell my wife, man, do I want this routine for the rest of my life? And the only way to stop routines is to retire, because job is not going to be any easier. We're going to keep working a lot. I hardly meet people who work little. Everybody's working like crazy. Like my colleagues at AARP, we work a lot. And I know the competition, is tough nowadays to get those good jobs, etc. So it takes a lot of effort, a lot of energy. And I guess we have to ask ourselves, how long do I want to work? How long do I want this routine? How much of this routine is really satisfying, and how much of it is just like tedious routine and work, and then maybe you get sick because of the pressures and the stress. And stress is a big item. I believe the stress is a killer. Yes. Stress produces a lot of health conditions. So again, we need to start thinking about our own retirement. What do I want? I have 10 points and actually I'm going to recommend them because I know we're going to run out of time. If you go to aarp.org, and just do a little search and just type retirement preparation, there's a list of 10 things that you can think about when it comes to retirement. And again, I want to also mention that I forgot at the beginning that this is AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. We are on Facebook. So if you are listening on radio, please, please, please go to our page and don't like us. Follow us. There's a difference between liking somebody and following. I don't want you just to like us. I really ask you to follow us. We're looking to get about 10,000 followers so that this message gets out to a large audience. So and then we just started podcast. So any one of you who is listening, podcast is available. So if you are on an iPhone, you can go to the podcast on your phone and just look for AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. If you're on an Android, you go to Stitches. That's how they call it, Stitches. Stitch or Stitches, something like that, and just look for it and look for our name. So again, let's continue. So when it comes, Armando, to retirement, you mentioned life insurance. I hope we have Social Security, and I think most of us will have it. Like I have 401k. I'm lucky to work for an employer who offers 401k. They match. There's a match there. And then I also have a pension with AARP. So I am one of the few, I think that one of the lucky ones.
Right.
Who, in addition to a 401k, we also have a pension.
Pensions are disappearing.
Yes,
Correct.
they are disappearing. And then so we are talking about then what other components should we
Yeah, so David, what I would
include?
say is that when people are thinking, set goals.
Okay.
What do you want in life? So we talked earlier about a career choice. Do you want to be in that career choice or whatever, whatever you want to do, you can
Right.
do it, but we've got to set goals. And then with those goals, think long term. On average, men live to about 83, women to about 86.
Okay.
And if you think about your whole lifetime, what do you want to see and do in that lifetime?
Okay.
Then set those goals and then work towards getting there. It might mean giving up X for right now so you can have Y later. But those long-term goals and long-term planning, people need to be more aware of that and watch for it and plan for it.
Do we tend to, as Latinos and maybe the general population as well, just to think of the present and not venture out in the future?
Well, this country has a problem with that because we
Okay.
do. We
So
spend what we make.
so it actually is the whole
It's the whole
country.
population.
We're
You
on
look at the
same
U.S.
boat.
savings rates, they're terrible. You look at how much we have in retirement, it's terrible. You look at how much income comes in and what is spent, whatever comes in is spent. So it's a problem in the entire country.
Yeah.
But we within our own individual families, we can help make a difference.
And I always like to sometimes move out of the box and say things that maybe is not as popular. We need to take a step back. We are constantly being pushed to spend. I mean,
Exactly.
this is
Right.
part of the
Right.
economic system that we have. And I
Right.
think we do not sin by saying this, that this economic system is always depends on consumption and we have to consume
right.
or else the economy goes south.
Right.
So that consumption mechanism forces us a lot of times to spend and not even think about the future. So we have to take a step back and say, wait a minute, what do I want now? How can I prepare for
Exactly.
my future? What kind of life do I want? How do I see myself lifestyle? How is my health? Even me, like for instance, I have about at least 5 years who I'm every single year going to the doctor, doing my preventive care because you also want to get to retirement healthy. How about your
Right.
eating? How about your weight? I mean, even
All of
that.
that.
Sometimes
All
we
of
only
that.
think in terms of money, but how about your lifestyle? How about your eating? How about what you eat? How about your weight? How about your sugar levels? What are you doing to prepare for retirement in that regard, in the health issue?
And David, before we started, we were talking a little bit about the whole person concept, and how to have balance in life, bring the relationships and be at one with your family and the health situation. You were just talking about it. Are we buying just junk food and feeding our bodies with junk food?
Right.
That's going to land us in a hospital or in a wheelchair in the future. We have to be very conscientious about what goes into our bodies, and that's
Right.
an investment in ourselves. Yes,
Yeah.
you're going to buy a little bit
Wow,
more.
we're connecting that to retirement. It is indeed. I mean, it's
Yes,
connected
yes.
to the general well-being
It
of a
is.
person,
Yes.
but it's very much linked to retirement.
Because it's going to be very costly to
Yes.
get you well. And it's
Yes.
not going to happen by medication. It's going to happen by the
And-
foods that you
Right.
consume.
And when you're 80, do you want to be in a wheelchair or walking?
Exactly.
Take
Right,
care of yourself
right.
now so you can be more likely walking versus in a
Yes.
wheelchair.
Yeah.
And work out, think about maybe doing something special for your body and maybe walking for an hour if you can't run.
Right.
Eventually you'll be able to run. But there was a point that you brought up and you said, are we looking at this backwards? And it is critical that we look at retirement backwards. Now that we are all working, most of us, we can say, okay, what is our magic number? Can I live with $3,000 a month? Can I live with $2,000 a month? Is it $5,000? Whatever that number is,
Right.
go see a professional and talk to them about what your goals are for the future.
Yep.
You know exactly where you want to be at, but you don't know how to get there. And what areas are you going to fall at risk and have those products available to you, like disability income. What happens if you become disabled? Who's going to pay your house? Well, there is mortgage disability income. What happens if you die before you finish paying for your house? Do you have insurance to cover that, or the education of your children?
Right.
This is not just financial planning for yourself, but leaving a legacy for your family as well.
Yeah. And go ahead, Gloria, go first.
Thank you. For me, it's about protecting your, I call it protecting your lifestyle now and forever, right? Because if you prevent by taking care of yourself. The most important thing you have is your health. We can have all the instruments and the financial planning or all the insurance, but if we are healthy, that's priceless. We're able to think, and if we are not healthy, we need to write. If something happens to us, sometimes it may sound, people want to avoid those questions, but if I have a heart attack, do I want to be resuscitated? Yes or no? We don't like those difficult conversations, but the more prepared we are, the better. And we know people don't have all this information, but they can come to people like that offer this expertise, the services, or they can contact you, or they can go into the website of AARP. But it's information. It's about education of what is there.
We are coming to a close, and again, this is, I believe, like the second show that we've done on finances. But today I notice a big emphasis on your health. There is a big investment to make on our health, because that is part of retirement. A lot of times we think of retirement and we only think of money, 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 money. I was also going to say that home ownership and planning to have your house paid off is a big thing. Because if you're going to have your Social Security, you have your house paid off, in the end, I mean, there is a concept called reverse mortgage. It might not be for everyone, but if you have your house paid off, that could be a money that could get you through, for many, many years. So again,
it's another tool.
Reverse mortgage is an important concept. I have it in my brain. I said, in my retirement plan, reverse mortgage is definitely part of it, where basically you have to own the home and basically the bank buys it from you and starts giving you installments and, for a number of years. And that's basically the concept. So basically the bank buys it from you, and that increases a monthly income. We are coming to a close. We have about a minute. I would just like to go around, and any final thoughts that you want to offer our community, by all means, just make it quick.
I'll make it just very quick. Long-term planning, just plan long-term. There are lots of ways to get to the same place, but talk with someone, as Gloria mentioned, talk with someone who can help you.
Perfect.
Lots of ways to get there.
Perfect. Gloria, final thoughts?
Always think about protecting your lifestyle, but we start with you first. We cannot protect the rest if we're not okay, but go with someone that is licensed, please.
Perfect.
And understands your language and your culture. Not translation.
Right.
Culture.
Important, of course.
Thank you so much for inviting me again, David. It's such a pleasure to be here with you and your guests. I would say try and live less a stressful life. Try to balance your life and really live out planning what your future is going to look like, because now you have the time. Do not wait until retirement to start worrying about it. The time is now.
Perfect. And my just final thought is, let's start the conversation. Talk with your spouse, with your friends, with your family. Start the conversation and talk about everything: life, death, health, money, house, living wills, estate planning, 401ks, IRAs, everything. So start it, and that's all it takes, starting it, and then you develop it as we go. Thank you so very much for joining today's show, Retirement and Social Security. This was AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. Have a great day.